And for more discussion about that, we're joined in Beijing, Mr. Yang Mingjie, Vice President of the China Institute of Contemporary International Relations. In New York, we have Mr. Thomas Ruskin, who is a former New York City police detective investigator and now president of the CMP Protective and Investigative Group. And also in Boston, we have Mr. Jim Walsh, research associate at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology's Security Studies Program. Gentlemen, welcome to the three of you. I understand, Mr. Ruskin, that you have to run after our discussion to another important appointment. So let me begin by asking you several questions. First of all, what do you make of the current stage of investigation against this young man, Mr. Rohami, so far?
I think that all law enforcement agencies in New York, New Jersey, and federal have done a spectacular job. I mean, I think it's the quickest we've ever seen someone taken into custody after a bombing anywhere in the world. So when you have a bombing such as what happened Saturday night in New York City on a crowded street in the Chelsea section, Midtown Manhattan, that happens at 8:30, police find another bomb unexploded about 4 blocks away, and then tie it together with an earlier bombing in New Jersey and later attempted bombings on at a train station in New Jersey, and bring this person to custody in 50 hours. It's incredible.
Right. How much does this have to do with the kinds of trainings and also apparatus when it comes to anti-terrorism security measures implemented in New York City after September 11th?
Well, all over the world, law enforcement agencies are getting better at not only detecting it, the intelligence that surrounds it, but also determining from the forensics, from the actual bomb fragments, and in the unexploded device that was found on 27th Street, the fingerprint and characteristics on the cell phone that led back to Radani.
And also, Mr. Ruskin, when we talk about speed, it should be congratulated to the New York police. However, on the other hand, people would also wonder about the accuracy if the investigation can be so speedy. What do you make of it?
Well, I think that what we're learning from this investigation, it appears that the FBI may have had knowledge of it 2 years in advance. I think we have to look at that and see if there were any warning signs that maybe a further investigation should have taken. The good news here is no one was hurt in any of the 2 bombs that exploded or the bomb that the police were trying to defuse at the time it exploded. But what the good news here is, police were able to take the evidence and take the forensics and lead it back to the person responsible for this and bring him into custody. And thank God for the Linden police officers who were involved in the shootout with him, who were injured and shot, and thank God they're okay.
Right. Of course, blessings to the police that have been working very hard around the clock in New York City and also for the safety around the world. Having said that, though, let me ask you, Mr. Ruskin, final question to you individually, which is, what do you make of the reporting so far that this young man was being reported 2 years ago, some suggested by his father, of quote-unquote possible terrorist? After some investigation, further inquiry did not go anymore. The police ended it there, suggesting there were no evidence. And 2 years later, something like this happened. How should we understand all of these together?
Well, I think we all have to understand that police and FBI, our federal partners who investigate crimes in our country, throughout our country, had information supposedly from the father. Supposedly from news reports, we're learning now that the father recanted his statements at a later date. The FBI opens a case file and has a certain period of time to either continue that case file and recommend the case file remain open or close the investigation. In this case, not finding any other evidence that determined that this man may have become radicalized and or was a threat to anyone in this country, they closed their case. That's something that government officials as well as law enforcement officials are going to have to look at in the future to determine if there's anything better we can do.
All right. Thomas Ruskin, former New York City police detective investigator. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us. Really appreciate it. And then let's come
Thanks
to
for
our
having me.
discussion.